Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another megasode, your daily dose of Star Wars news. So what do we have today? Well, we're so excited for Dave Filoni's Star Wars Ahsoka on August 23rd. We broke down the full trailer, I spoke about it in depth, I broke down some more tidbits yesterday, and so let's take a little bit of a break. But just before we do, I want to say that Eman Esfandi is the perfect casting for Ezra Bridger. I came across a fantastic video edit where they compared Ezra's speech from season 4 of Rebels to the part of it from the Ahsoka trailer in live action that Sabine is listening to on Lothal, and I've got to say he absolutely nailed the voice. So just a bit of positivity to start today's video off, because we do have a range of good news and bad news. Let's start with the bad. So it seems as though the writers' strikes are going to go on for a long time, and this is almost certainly going to impact Star Wars shows and films, as well as others by big studios. The Ahsoka show is safe, Andor Season 2 is safe, The Acolyte as well, Skeleton Crew, but when we're talking about the Rey film, the Dave Filoni movie, Mando Season 4, there is a lot up in the air. Let's take a look. The statement made by AMTPT is as follows: I think we're in it for the long strike, and they're going to let it bleed out, and the end game for major Hollywood studios is for writers to go broke before resuming talks in the fall. This is very, very bad news. It's also believed actors could take labor action themselves and go on strike, and this could be a nightmare scenario for Hollywood. This would be the first double strike for 63 years. How we got here is a crazy situation. I'll keep you updated on any major development. So now on to some good Star Wars news. We have some massive Star Wars Emmy nominations. That's right, between The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor, Star Wars earned 22 nominations combined, and an opinion I've seen shared in the fandom is how come the Kenobi show of all of these was nominated for an Emmy. We'll get into that in just a moment. So this comes from Bespin Bulletin. They say without a question the highlight of the nominations go to Andor, which received a nomination for Outstanding Drama Series, alongside heavy hitters like Better Call Saul, The Crown, The Last of Us, House of the Dragon and Succession. Andor picked up 8 nominations in prestigious categories, and Obi-Wan Kenobi landed a high-profile nomination for Outstanding Limited Series. Obi-Wan is up against Beef, Dharma, Daisy Jones and The Six, and Fleischman is in trouble, as well as landing an additional 4 nominations. The Mandalorian Season 3, so this is one of the big ones that we're talking about at the moment. This is the most recent Disney Plus Star Wars show. They say The Mandalorian Season 3 picked up the most nominations, with 9 in total, but wasn't selected for the more prestigious or big awards, though leading man Pedro Pascal did get nominated for the role of Joel Miller in HBO's The Last of Us, so some really good wins there. This is the one that's got fans talking, Obi-Wan Kenobi, because this really was a divisive show. After the hype and the build-up, the return of Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, and of course the outstanding trailer. We expected a lot out of that show, and to some fans it delivered, and to others not so much. But I do think personally Part 6 is one of the best TV episodes under Disney, and so it's no surprise that episode is getting most of these awards. Let's go through them. Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series, and Outstanding Fantasy and Sci-Fi Costumes. This was for Part 1. Outstanding Picture Editing for a Limited or Anthology Series, Part 6. Outstanding Sound Effects, Part 6. And the rest are for Part 6 too. I think the one that really caught fans out was the Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series, especially compared to what it's up against. I think there are lots of criticisms that I've seen floating around as reasons why some fans think it doesn't deserve it. You often hear about the overall story being underwhelming, the fact it was poorly directed, the writing being poor. Some say there was a lack of understanding for Star Wars canon and George Lucas's story with these legacy characters. Others say the volume was really obvious at times, and it takes you out of the universe. Some have criticised the look of the Inquisitors, some have pointed to poor execution of plot points. I've got to say I'm not as down on it as some fans are. I just want to say a huge congratulations to all the cast and crew involved in the show. I'm always happy whenever Star Wars is in the spotlight of pop culture. But when this news broke about the Emmys, it rekindled a lot of those discussions from when the show released. Some social media users baffled, and when you put it up against Mando and Andor, it's very clear the latter two shows did have better cinematography, better lighting, better visual effects, and in the case of Andor, I'm sorry to be biased, but I think that was the best writing of all 3 of these. They're all very different shows though. The Mandalorian is much more light-hearted, deals with a very different time period, and very different types of characters. Andor is very serious, very much a TV show, if that makes any sense. And Kenobi, as a few fans pointed out, is a bit of a weird one. It's somewhere in between those. Sometimes it takes itself very seriously, and other times it's downright jovial, and some episodes make for quite good entertainment. I feel as though now as we go into the next phase of Disney+, which includes the Ahsoka show, The Acolyte in 2024, we can look back and see what Lucasfilm hit the mark on and those they didn't, and I think there is this general consensus that out of all the shows so far, the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi rank lowest in terms of overall quality. That's not to say they're terrible shows, it's all subjective, but time and time again you see Mando and Andor ranking right at the top of the list. The Bad Batch as well, right up there. There was less consistency with Boba and Obi-Wan. You have fans who love them, but also fans who feel very strongly that they tampered with beloved characters and they didn't do them justice. And that is why I will reiterate something I said after the Kenobi finale during my breakdown. I think this is one of those series that needs a bit of time to brew, needs a bit of time to age, but if they do decide to do a season 2 or a spin-off, I think that's where it's gonna thrive. More Book of Boba than Kenobi, I would say. But if we did get a show where it focuses on Kenobi being trained by Qui-Gon's Force ghost, and we do see more of Kenobi on Tatooine, more similar to how he was in the Legends book, applying things they did right in the first season and applying what fans actually liked, that might work really well and be better received by the fandom. But I do understand the perspective that we don't need a season 2, that we need to leave some things to the imagination, that we can't be following every single year of every single character. In fact, an opinion I've seen multiple times that again was reiterated when this Emmys news was released. A lot of folks would be much more interested in a pre-A New Hope Vader series, looking at what Darth Vader was up to at this time. Because in the comics, there is so much juicy content. He goes hunting Jedi, his relationship to Palpatine is explored more, sowing those early seeds of doubt, planning eventually to overthrow the Emperor. Adventures from Mustafar, as well as Vader traveling the galaxy would be really cool. Not to mention it'd be really awesome if we got a live-action Sabe again. For a character that is so explored in the comics, it's amazing to think she's only appeared once, back in 1999. But as I say, when it comes to some of these characters like Darth Vader and Kenobi, maybe it's time to just leave them alone. With the exception of the Ahsoka show, I think Dave's gonna do that right. But maybe it's a lesson to move away from the legacy characters. Kathleen Kennedy's been saying that now for a while, that they're gonna do something new, which is also why we maybe don't need Luke Skywalker in the Rey film. Mark Hamill made a good point. It's time to tell other stories. And with Disney+, that's why I have so much faith in stories like Ahsoka, Star Wars Andor, The Acolyte, because they're mostly based on Disney characters. In the case of Ahsoka, these originated in Star Wars Rebels, and so they know what to do with them because the people who made them are still there. So many aspects from the editing to the writing, even down to the format, that gives reasons why fans are not pleased. And I've seen some of the fan edits, and they're insane, and it really got me thinking, if Kenobi with the same story was released as a film, it would have been better. And let's be real, Hayden and Ewan really carried that season. Even Vivian Lara Blair, young Leia, she was brilliant. But I'm so optimistic about what's coming in terms of Star Wars content. But as I say, congratulations to all of the cast and crew on Obi-Wan Kenobi. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.